Hi everyone. All right. Hi everyone, good morning, happy Saturday. Welcome to Schuylkill Saturdays with the Schuylkill Center for Environmental Education. My name is Rebecca, and today I am going to show you some common Pennsylvania animal tracks. What's a track? Does anybody know what a track is? Write it in the comments. When I say tracks and when scientists and people who know a lot about wildlife say tracks, what is a track? Nobody? All right, a track is a footprint. So humans make tracks, of course, and animals make tracks. And tracks are a really, really amazing way to see what animals are in your area, either out on a hike or maybe in your backyard, without ever seeing the animal, because animals love to hide and sometimes they're very afraid of humans. So we may never see an animal, but we will know whether an animal has been in your area if we're looking at its footprint in the ground. So today I'm going to show you a couple of really, really cool tracks so that you can go out and find them on your own the next time you're outdoors. And at the end of this segment, I will post in the comments a guide for you to be able to print out and have with you at all times so that you can always, if you see a track on the ground, pull out your guide and look and try and figure out right away what animal could be. Now, I'll be asking you questions throughout this, and you can feel free to put any of your questions or comments into the comment section because I can answer them right as I am teaching and right as we're speaking. So all of the tracks that I'm going to show you today are not real, but they are either made of rubber, or they are made of plaster, or they are imprinted in something that is sort of kind of like cement. So they are true to size and they are very true to detail. So you'll be able to get a really cool look at them. Now this first one I want to show you is a really, perhaps maybe one of the most common tracks that you will see at the Schuylkill Center. And I want to know if any of you might know what kind of track this is. So I'll show you two of the same track. Get up nice and close there. Right off the bat, you'll notice that this is a very strange footprint, right? We have kind of two big toes. Does anybody have an idea as to what might make this track? Put your guess in the comments if you would like to. Any guesses? Well, do you see any types of claws? Do you see any webbed feet or anything? This is a white-tailed deer. Now, deer are a type of mammal that we call ungulates, and an ungulate has a split hoof, which means that it has a hoof just like a horse, but it is split right down the middle, right like this. And they're really obvious and easy to see in the ground. They don't look like anything else, really. So here is that picture of a white-tailed deer, in case you haven't seen one in a while and needed a little recollection. So that is the footprint of a deer. Again, really, really unique. You really wouldn't see this look like any other creature. So as soon as you see that, you'll know that it's a white-tailed deer. Super cool. Okay, let's talk about another animal that is actually very quite common. What about, so you have two opportunities to make a guess here, because this animal, I actually have the front foot and the back foot. Now this front foot, this is the plaster I was talking about, and this back foot, This is actually an imprint of an animal's paw print that was made in this cement. So does anybody have any kind of guess as to what this might be? Front foot and back foot here. So you can picture it right in the ground like that. Any guesses? This is, drumroll please, a raccoon. So, a really easy way to know if you have a raccoon footprint underneath you is the front foot has 5 very obvious fingers, or what we might also call digits. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like, who else? A human hand. So a raccoon kind of looks a lot like a human hand. Raccoons are actually able to grab things with their little fingers. So they are different from deer or perhaps other animals such as dogs, which can't eat things by picking them up. They have to go down to the ground and put their heads onto the ground to eat. But raccoons can pick things up and grab them with their hands. This is the back foot of a raccoon, quite different, right? This is much longer, it's got that heel, it's got those toes, and it has those toes, but they are much more like a different kind of animal's toes, which are just all right in front of them, sort of more like a paw. So that is a raccoon right there. Now, if you would like to see a picture of a raccoon to jog your memory if anyone is forgetting what a raccoon is, there's that little guy with its mask right there, clamping onto that stick with its 5 little raccoon fingers, and it's got its back feet, and you can see, even here, those back feet are quite long, much longer than those little hands up above, right? So there you have it. Here is another animal that sometimes might be mistaken for a raccoon footprint, but it is different. But this is another animal that you might find where you would find raccoons. Sometimes they occupy similar human habitats. Does anyone want to guess what that one is? Got those 5 fingers. You'll notice something about these might be good at gripping onto things, perhaps. This is an opossum. Some people just say possum, some people say opossum. Either way is actually quite fine. So an opossum, again, similar to a raccoon's front footprints in that it's got those 5 fingers that are long and really good for gripping things, but quite a little bit different as well. So here's that opossum holding on to a branch right there. So opossums, they like to hang out in trees as well. You can actually see, if I bring it up close, you can see that they've kind of got little pink toes, almost rodent toes right there, which are pretty cool. Now, the next one, which shall I pull out now? So these ones are really cool. These are actually going to be 2 separate footprints that are similar to each other, and these are imprinted. So these are 2 footprints of different animals. And I'd like you to guess which 2 animals you think they could be. And these footprints really, really fascinate me because these 2 animals are very different from each other, but their footprints are quite similar. And these footprints were actually put purposefully close together so that you could see just how similar they are in size, but also in adaptation, which means their traits and their characteristics that make them suited for similar types of habitats. So does anyone have any guesses as to what either one or both of these animals might be? What do you notice about these animals in between their toes, both of them. So I'm pointing to each of the toes. This one has 3, and this one has 4 or 5. 4. Do you notice anything interesting? So these animals both have webbed feet, which means what? What does it mean when animals have webbed feet? They live in water. Yeah, so these animals need to be able to swim really fast through water. Now, I have a guess, a duck and a heron. That's a good guess. One of those is correct. This one right here is the duck. This is not the heron though, and I will give you a hint. This is not even a bird. This is a frog. So I'll put it up nice and close so that you can see it. So the first thing that I thought of when I learned of these two tracks side by side is that I couldn't believe that they are nearly the same size as each other. A frog and a duck. Such crazy different sized animals, but it goes to show just how huge a frog's legs are. Because a frog's legs are not only for swimming really fast through the water, they are also for jumping and leaping really, really far distances in one single leap. So that is why they need to have such huge, long footprints. So here is that picture of the frog right here. And we have many of these at the Schuylkill Center. Now, and I do have a picture of the duck. Maybe I don't. I don't have a picture of a duck, but we can all guess what a duck looks like. And I am not entirely certain what species of duck this is. So, speaking of webbed feet, let's keep on this. This is a really neat footprint. I'm going to hold it in between my hands so you can see to scale how huge this footprint is. Anybody have any guesses as to what this could be? Now this is a little harder to see. This is a footprint made of rubber right here. So I'm going to move it up close and a little back and forth because it is dark and it might be a little bit harder to see. But this footprint here is also webbed, similarly to the last two, but this is much bigger and this is drawn to size. This is the true size of this footprint. This is, drum roll please, a beaver footprint. What? Beavers are this big? Yes, they are. Now this is the back footprint of a beaver, so you can see that heel right here, and you can see that it has this webbing here. Because beavers, even though they are mammals, they have webbed feet as well. Now I want to show you something really interesting, though, about the front foot of a beaver. That front foot is not webbed, but the back foot is webbed. So beavers are adapted, best suited to both live in the water and also to be able to grip things like this delicious carrot right here, and to move around on land so that they can get to their wood, which they need to bite down on to build their beaver dams. Beavers are rodents, so they have very similar front feet to other rodents such as rats or mice and things like that. So this is a really, really cool footprint right here. And this is another footprint where if you ever saw it in the wild out on a trail, you might think, that looks really unique. I have never seen a footprint like that. And it might be matched in the same area with footprints that are front feet like this. So sometimes when we're looking at tracks, you want to see if you can find one where you might be able to find another. Because the more tracks you see, the better you can start to gauge what kind of animal it is, and even what it was doing, and even where it might be going right now. Let's pivot to an entirely different animal. This one is another really unique one. Now, you might not know, let me try and get it out of the sun a little bit so you can see it, yeah. Now, you might not know what specific animal this is, but right from looking at it, what kind of animal in a basic way might you think it is? Would you think that it's a fish? No. Would you think that it's a mammal? Possibly not. This is, for me, as soon as I saw this, I knew that this was a type of bird. This just looks quite like a bird and like no other animal I've seen. Does anyone want to make a guess as to what type of bird this could be? Or even, maybe if not what type, because that might be hard, what it might eat based on only using the footprint. I'm moving it around so that you can see different parts of it. So for me, I know that this bird eats other animals. And I know that right away because I see these long, what we call talons, which are like claws for birds. When they're claws on birds, we call them talons. Eagle is a really good guess. And like I said, this is a really hard bird to know exactly what it will be. But it is not an eagle. This is an owl. Eagles, a lot of times their talons would be even longer than this. So this is a type of owl, which I will show you a picture of right here. Now in this picture you cannot see those owl talons and feet because its lovely plush feathers are covering it up. But owls do like to hunt mice and other small animals. So you can see those talons up there and you know that this bird will be hunting. And if you know that it's an owl, even better, you might know to look around in the area for an owl pellet, which is, what's an owl pellet? Does anyone know what an owl pellet is? Any guesses? We've seen them at the Schuylkill Center. They're really, really cool. An owl pellet is when an owl eats a mouse or something like a mouse. It will start to digest all the parts that it can to use for nutrients for its body, and the parts that it can't digest, fur, bones, teeth, maybe feathers if it's a smaller bird, it will throw back up out of its mouth. It's not the same as throwing up from being sick though. It's another type of waste. When it can't get rid of things to use as nutrients in its body, it has to get rid of them somewhere else. And they come in a little pellet shape, kind of like this big, which is why they're called owl pellets. And you can, if you find one, you can dissect it as long as you have gloves and you're not touching it with your bare hands to see what kind of animal's bones or fur you might find inside. It's amazing. So if you knew that you were looking for owl right here, then you might be able to spot an owl pellet nearby. I did forget to mention, for owls, their footprint is also very obvious because they have a back toe here that has its own talon. And they use these, so their layout is sort of like this, except only with their 3 fingers, and they have that back. And with this, they're able to grab onto a tree branch and hold themselves there for hours and hours, listening and watching and waiting to find their prey. Amazing creatures. So that is another way that you might be able to tell if this is an owl, is that back toe right there. Now, let's see. Okay, so I want to show you a couple last footprints, and these ones I did save for last on purpose because they're amazing. Now, which one should I start with? So I will start with this one here. Does anyone want to guess what animal this might be? There are a couple things that I notice right off the bat that make me able to give an educated guess as to what animal this could be. What do you think? The first thing I notice about this animal, I'll help give you a hint, is it's got its claws out here, which is pretty amazing. Easy to see. This I know right away to be some type of dog. It's got that padding here, that really, really thick padding, and it's got that very classic dog-like padding right here. So this is a type of dog. It is a wild dog. This is a coyote footprint. So coyote footprints do look a lot like our large pet dogs, like a yellow lab or a golden retriever, those big dogs like that. A coyote looks like that. Now, a really important way to know that this is a dog instead of a big cat, because cat footprints can look a lot like dog footprints sometimes, but the way you know right away if it's a dog is that you will see those claws, those nails in the ground, because cats are able to do what we call retract or bring in their claws when they are not using them. If you have ever had to clip your house cat's nails, or if you've ever seen cats fight, or if you've seen your cat even walk around, or your dog walk around. Dogs walk on hardwood floor and you can hear their nails, right? But a cat is silent. And that's really important because in the wild, cats sneak up on their prey. So they need to be able to get really close, really quietly. So they have to be able to bring in their nails and then only bring them out when they need to use them to fight, to kill their prey, something like that. Dogs, however, usually hunt in packs in the wild, which means that they can be running and using teamwork to run down their prey from a wide angle. So they don't need to hide the way cats do. Now, coyotes mostly are solitary, which means they tend to hunt alone, but because they are dogs, they still aren't sneaking up on prey the way that cats are. They usually get their prey from outrunning it, running really fast. So that's how you know that this is a dog footprint. Now, I want to compare this footprint to another footprint. Anybody have any guesses as to what this footprint could be? Much bigger than the coyote footprint, right? Now, you'll notice something interesting about this footprint. What kind of animal do you think this one is? We just talked about what makes this one a dog footprint. Any guesses as to what kind of animal this would be? This is another type of dog, much bigger again than that coyote footprint. Look at that. This is a gray wolf footprint. We don't have gray wolves in Pennsylvania anymore for the most part, but they used to live here. They lived here for a long time until humans came and took up a lot more space, and then those wolves did not have enough space, enough prey. So now there are wolves mostly out west in the United States. But I love showing these pictures, these footprints rather, side by side, because I love showing people exactly how much bigger a gray wolf is than a coyote. Most people think of coyotes and gray wolves as interchangeable, and coyotes are definitely big dogs. They will be bigger than most of the dogs that we'll see in our neighborhoods domesticated, but they are still much smaller than wolves. A wolf is a massive, massive, massive dog. So these are those two footprints side by side. And again, you know right away that it is a dog because it has those giant, in this case, nails. So there you go. The last one that I have to show you, always a crowd pleaser, one of my favorites. Does anyone want to guess what this massive footprint could be? I'll hold it up to my hand so you can see. Oh, wowie. That must be huge. Any guesses as to what this one would be? I'll give you a hint. You can find this one in Pennsylvania. Yikes. An animal this big in Pennsylvania? This is... Yes, you are correct. This is a black bear. And I'll bring up a nice picture of our black bear friend. Here we go. Now this, I have to tell you, this is a small black bear footprint. This is a young one. So they do get a lot bigger than this. Not as big as their grizzly bear relatives, but still quite big. Let me hold up the gray wolf footprint once again for comparison to this bear. You can see again how big a gray wolf must be if its footprint is in comparison like this to this young black bear. Really, really wild. So that is the end of the tracks that I have to show you. Please put in the comments where you are watching from, and because we'd like to get to know you and where you're watching from. That's it. And please type in any questions you have about today's Schuylkill Saturday segment. And please keep an eye out too in the comments. I will post the guide for the tracks that we saw here today, as well as a couple of other ones. And join us next week for another Schuylkill Saturday. And please check out, as always, our website and our Facebook page to see what other programs, both virtual and other, we are doing right now. We have a lot going on. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today and for participating, and I can't wait to interact with you all again soon. Have a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful weekend, and thank you from me and from the Schuylkill Center. Bye!